Welcome to day 27 of being in the hospital. We are still waiting on an expected discharge date. Originally they said Thursday or Friday, and it's Thursday and we didn't get to go home, and we won't be going home tomorrow. But we're just having the process of moving my rates up is going really slow, because like how fast you pump the medicine, or not the medicine, sorry, the tube feeds the formula. So it goes in milliliters, and like so many milliliters an hour, and so we haven't quite set a goal rate, but right now the rate is at 40. So it was 20 all night, and then around 11 this morning they changed it to 40, and then the plan next is 60. But like still, even if I'm on tube feeds 24/7, 60 is not enough. 60 is not enough. So we haven't quite decided, because they're like, well, you could either be 24 hours or you could be on it for 16 hours, but then if it were 16, it'd have to go really fast, and so I'd have to be in the hospital even longer, just getting used to it. So then they said, well, you could originally start have to have your feeds for 24 hours, for 24 hours, and then just at home we can call and talk and work it out to see, how she's tolerating, and then just slowly bump it up so that where she gets to where she doesn't have to be on it for a full 24 hours and just maybe have a couple breaks or whatever. But we just are still working all that out. We haven't been trained completely on the tube yet, but that's fine because we don't have a discharge date. But they are letting me pump some of my medicines in my tube, because like when I go home, we're gonna have to do that anyway. They haven't let us change the dressing yet, but they've taught us how. They've shown us how, but they haven't actually let us do it yet. But obviously we're gonna have to do that before we go. I actually have a cat holding my tube because the tube is pulling, and it's super uncomfortable because it's a heavy tube. It's really heavy, especially when the feedings are going, which is all the time. And so this is heavy, and this is even heavier, so it just is added weight. This is. So the cat is holding the tube steady, so that it doesn't pull against my skin. It's cute. I used to teach Sunday school class at my church for preschoolers, and one of the preschoolers, his family and my family were really close, and when they found out I was in the hospital, they sent me this cute little cat named Shadow, and Shadow has been very helpful in holding my tube steady. And there was a little bit of confusion today with the tube as to which port to use. So there's G-tube and J-tube, right? G-tube is this big tube that you see, and then J-tube is the little tube. There's like a tube inside of the tube, if you can see it moving around a little bit. So the G-tube is the tube that goes straight to my stomach. So it goes in my stomach right there, and it just, anything that you put through the G-tube will go into my stomach. And then the J tube, the little tube, goes through my stomach, and then it goes actually into my small intestine. And your small intestine has 3 parts: the first part, second part, and the third part. Yeah, because that's 3 parts. And it is right at, so there's the first part, and then there's the second part, and then there's like this space in between the two. And so the J tube goes to this space in between the two, and the second part of your intestine is called your jejunum, and that's why it's called the J tube, because it's jejunum, and then G is gastric, which is stomach. So that is my tube, and so there was confusion to see like which tube, because obviously, so if you get it pushed into your jejunum, your small intestine, the J tube, then your intestine has a flap called the pylorus that opens and lets the food in from your stomach, and it goes into your small intestine, but then the flap doesn't let the food out of your small intestine. So they're feeding me into my small intestine, so I'm not able to throw it up. But then we did an experiment today where they pumped water into my J tube to see, the G tube, sorry. They pumped water into my stomach to see if I would throw that up, and unfortunately after like 8 minutes I did throw the water up, and they gave me like 30 milliliters of water, so it wasn't very much. I think 30 milliliters is like 2 teaspoons, but then I was not able to keep that down. So that was kind of disappointing, but it was like, it wasn't necessarily unexpected, but we didn't just expect it not to work, if that makes sense. Like, we had hope, but like we weren't like surprised that it didn't work, if that makes sense. But we are just getting used to it. I am still sore. I'm really sore, but I am not as swollen as I was. I'm still swollen, but I'm not as swollen as I was, and it'll take a couple days for me to not be swollen anymore, but I'm definitely getting more used to the pain, because I had, the first night was really rough, and then last night was really rough as well. But then by this afternoon, I'd had my pain medicine, and I was able to be up and sitting in a chair, and I was in a chair for maybe 2 hours. Would you say 2 hours? Yeah, like about 2 hours, and I was just kind of up, walking around the room for a little bit, which is good. But then when they put the medicine in my G tube, and I was throwing up, that was not very comfortable, because it takes stomach muscles to throw up, right? And they just, drilled a hole in my stomach. So, stomach muscles are very painful to use. So throwing up was a lot of pain, and so I've kind of just been chilling since then, because it kind of hurts to move. So other than that, I don't really have an update. I think that's it. So with that, I will say goodnight, and I will update you guys tomorrow.